Hi!
It's time for our monthly book haul.
That's right. Everything we got in May, you want to say?
And when he says everything we got, he means everything I got, because I have a very large stack of things on the floor in front of me right now.
I mean, a horse could carry these.
So I don't think a horse could carry all of them.
Oh, no, yeah, they totally can. Like, they're larger than the both of us put together in that table. Yeah, they'll be fine.
Anyway, before we get to the book haul, I actually have a glasses haul for you.
Yeah.
So the brand TIJN reached out to me a while back, and they offered to send me some of their glasses, which I was really excited about.
And I gotta say, TIJN's pretty cool.
Yeah, I needed a new pair of glasses because some of my old ones were, you know, kind of getting... they were getting used a lot, so much to the point where I feel like some of them are close to falling apart. Anyway,
as, you know,
as most of us are. No kidding. My friend Danica actually also buys glasses from this brand and really like them, so I was excited to get the chance to, you know, share some of their glasses. So I got a few things from them. So the first pair I'm going to show you, I like these a lot because there's like blue
subtle
glitter
blue
on the frames.
Yeah, so you can't really see them like from the...
And then it's like tortoiseshell.
Yeah, but with the same flecks of blue. So from the front you wouldn't know that they had that blue kind of like thing, but then from the side.
This is how they look on. I like their frames because for the most part they're a little bit smaller, so they sit on my face a little bit better than some of the other frames that I've had in the past, which I still love, but like there's something special about these.
So this one's got that nice...
These are the ones that have the prescription lenses in them, so I was really excited when they offered to send those along. I will put the name of the style down below so you can see it for yourself. They also sent me another pair. These are also very cute. A little bit plain on the back ends, but the front is like this nice like pinkish white sort of frame on the top. I like that the frame doesn't go all the way around because it gives sort of a different effect on it. And this is what they look like on, which I feel like this fits in with my whole like librarian aesthetic when I want. Maki and I joke a lot that in my head I have a librarian running around, and I feel like these are the kind of glasses.
Also have a full building of people. It's actually a full ship of people, and there's a in my head is the bridge.
At least your ship is constantly moving. Mine's a library, so it's just chill.
Moving is
But yeah, I think this is the kind of thing that the librarian in there would wear.
That's definitely what the librarian would wear.
I'll put this frame down below as well. And the last thing they sent me was actually a pair of their blue light glasses, which
super important.
was a surprise.
Especially
it has like
those
clear.
Who spend a lot of time.
I know. Now I feel like I've had to wear blue light glasses more often because it helps with my headaches from looking at screens all day.
Okay.
Thank you so much to TIJN for sending along these pairs of glasses. I'm very excited to have more glasses to add to my rotation. I have quite a few of them now, so it's very fun for me. I'm especially excited about the blue light glasses because that's something I've just recently started investing in. Now, on to the books.
I'm just here for the ride and the food.
I honestly don't know where to like stop this so Mikey can talk about his books. I think what I'm gonna do is we're gonna talk about...
Stop when you're tired.
We're gonna talk about the books that I got from publishers first.
Yeah.
Let's
always start with publishers. Always start with the stuff that...
before we get to the digital galley stuff, let's talk about all the books that I got physically, of which there are a few. After lifting all of those books off the floor, now we can get started on this book haul. So the first thing I'm going to show off is a trilogy that Quirk Books kindly sent my way. These are not going to be added to my library, however. These are actually for a giveaway. This is the Once Upon a Con series by Ashley Poston, called so because they all take place at fan conventions, which is great.
Lovely.
The first book is Geekerella, and this is a Cinderella retelling. The main character, her dad used to run this very big convention for a series called Starfield, and so when there's the opportunity to meet the person who plays the prince in the reboot of the series, she wants to win it by cosplaying one of the characters from the series, except that her stepsisters are trying to get in the way. Meanwhile, the dude that plays the character feels a little insecure in his role too, because he's kind of like, this doesn't feel right in some ways. It kind of goes from there. And so far, this has been my favorite of the series.
Cool.
Next, we have The Princess and the Fangirl, which is a sort of swap story where the two characters kind of switch places. One of them is an ordinary person, one of them is also a cast member, and they switch places for a day for reasons.
Great.
The shenanigans were a lot of fun in this one, and while I didn't necessarily love it as much as the first, it was still a very good novel. The last book is Bookish and the Beast, which obviously Beauty and the Beast inspired. This is the one I actually have not read, but it involves this main character. I believe she works at a library. The library gets damaged, and someone, a famous person who I think is also part of the Starfield series, gets involved in helping with fixing it up. So the series has the most delightful covers and colors for covers, and I really enjoy them a lot. So if you're looking for something lighthearted and fun to read, definitely check these out. enter the giveaway if you want a complete set of the books.
Cool.
The next publisher we are going to highlight is Orbit Books. They sent me two things. The first is For the Wolf by Hannah Witten, which my friend DJ has not stopped talking about since he first learned about it and then read it. As the only second daughter born in centuries, Red has one purpose: to be sacrificed to the wolf in the Wilderwood in the hope he'll return the world's captured gods. Red is almost relieved to go. Plagued by a dangerous power she can't control, she knows that at least in the Wilderwood she can't hurt those she loves again. But the legends lie. The wolf is a man, not a monster. Her magic is a calling, not a curse. And if she doesn't learn how to use it, the monsters the gods have become will swallow the Wilderwood and her world whole.
Well.
Sounds pretty epic to me, so I'm really excited to get to reading that. The other book is The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. I actually own the author's other books, I just haven't read them yet. Trapped by her despotic brother within the crumbling walls of an ancient temple, Princess Malini dreams of vengeance. Forced to disavow her birthright and her power because of her past, maidservant Priya dreams of freedom. In a world beset by wild magic and turbulent uprising, their destinies will become irrevocably tangled, and together they will set an empire ablaze. So I'm very excited to read another adult fantasy novel. I'm really excited to read something by this author because I've heard a lot of praise for her other two books, and I can't wait to tackle this one. Next we have, let's see, who do we have next? Oh, Penguin Teen. They only sent me one book this time, but I'm really excited about it. It's We Are Inevitable by Gail Forman. So Gail Forman is an author whose work I have read in the past and absolutely adored. My favorite series from her is still the Just One Day duology, which I think was absolutely brilliant. Aaron Stein used to think books were miracles, and he works in their family's secondhand bookshop, and the only book that he apparently can read now, which is interesting considering he thought they were miracles, the only one he can read now is about the demise of dinosaurs. It's a predicament he understands all too well now that his brother and mom are gone and his friends have deserted him, so he got left with his dad basically. So when he sees that there's an opportunity to sell the store, he jumps at that opportunity because he thinks that's the only way out of his circumstances.
True.
But he doesn't account for Chad, who is a best life bro with a wheelchair and way too much optimism.
Cool.
Or the town's out-of-work lumberjacks, or Hannah, who is a charismatic musician that he falls hard for. So basically, he's trying to come to terms with a lot of the things that he's lost, who he is, who he wants to be. Sounds like a coming-of-age story. Very much looking forward to checking it out. Next, we've got Simon & Schuster, who so generously sent 3 books. When We Were Infinite, which has this stunning cover. It's by Kelly Loy Gilbert. All Beth wants is for her tight-knit circle of friends to stay together. With her family splintered and her future a question mark, these friends are all she has, even if she sometimes wonders if she truly fits in with them. And she has a crush on one of them. At some point, she witnesses a private act of violence in this crush's home, and the whole group ends up shaken. They decide to do whatever they can to protect their friend, but when their friend makes this very life-altering choice that they can't stop him from making, she has to decide how far she's willing to go for him and how much she's willing to give up. So
that sounds like a
sounds like
coming
it's
of age
gonna
thing.
be coming of age, very powerful, also really painful. So.
Yeah.
Then we have Indestructible Object, which has this really pretty cover. Lee has been focused on 2 things: her job as a sound tech at a local coffee shop, and her podcast Artist in Love, which she co-hosts with her boyfriend Vincent.
All right.
And then he breaks up with her on the air
No.
right after graduation. So they split up, she loses her job, and her parents also decide that they're separating. Her entire life gets thrown into turmoil, and she finds herself searching for new purpose. So she ends up teaming up with her old friend Max and a new friend Risa, and they start a podcast called Objects of Destruction, where they investigate whether or not love actually exists at all. I've showed this one before, so we'll just quickly show it to you now. We have The Lucky List by Raquel Lippincott. This is the one where I believe she finds a list that her mother made, and she tries to tackle all of those things within a certain period of time. The next book is from Roaring Brook Press. This is The Ones We're Meant to Find by Joan He. I'm very excited to read this because it is a sister story. There are 2 sisters. They're separated by unknown circumstances, and they're trying to find their way back to each other. This crosses multiple genres as far as I've heard. There's mystery to it. There's sort of a sci-fi aspect to it. There's a slight fantastical element to it. So I'm actually eager to go into this one not really knowing much. Can't wait to check it out. The last set of physical books I believe that we got from publishers, or I got from publishers, are all from Berkeley.
Okay.
So we have Very Sincerely Yours, which is a Carrie Winfrey book. And this is a romantic comedy. It's about a girl named Teddy. Oh, we have a friend named Teddy. No, I just thought it says, Teddy Phillips never thought she would still be spending every day surrounded by toys at almost 30 years old. My life. She works at a vintage toy store, and that's pretty much the only thing she has going for her because her long-term boyfriend dumped her.
Ugh.
The one joy that she has really kept over the years is a local children's show hosted by Everett St. James, who she kind of has a crush on because he's kind of cute. And then she writes a letter to him. He always seems to give sound advice and on the show itself says things, right? He seems like the kind of person who has his life together, and she wants some of that, you know.
Sure, who wouldn't?
But apparently he does sort of have his life together, but he still feels like something is missing. And so they end up exchanging letters. Of course it's gonna end in a happy ending. It better end in a happy ending.
I mean, it wouldn't be romance if it didn't.
Okay, the next book is The Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels by India Holton.
That sounds cool.
A prim and proper lady thief must save her aunt from a crazed pirate and his dangerously charming henchman in a fantastical historical romance.
Dangerously charming henchman.
Listen, the fact that it's a lady thief and a pirate and his henchman, that's it, we're good. I don't even need to know the details. We're fine, we're fine.
Sold.
And then we have Beth and Amy, which is by Virginia Contra. This is the second book in her sort of Little Women retelling.
Yeah.
It's more modern day, and this focuses on the two younger siblings.
Beth
The
and
first
Amy.
book focused on Meg and Joe, so this book is now focusing on Amy, who is like an up-and-coming fashion designer, and Beth, who is a talented singer-songwriter who kind of has anxiety, so it's been hard for her to sort of pursue music as a
Sure.
career. So, looking forward to reading that as well. The last book from Berkeley is Love Scenes, which is by Bridget Morrissey. Acting like she's in love with her handsome nightmare of a co-star in a movie directed and produced by a complicated Hollywood royalty family is Sloane's job. But what happens when the lines between script and reality get blurred? I'm here for it. It's gonna be like they don't like each other, they're forced into proximity because they have to work together. It'll be great. It'll be fun. Continuing on with the stuff that I got from publishers, we have some of the digital stuff. So first we have The Pickup by Miranda Keenely. Miranda is an author I have talked about very frequently on this channel. She writes YA contemporaries, and I have really liked pretty much everything she's written. When Mari hails a ride to a music festival, the last thing she expects is for the car to stop and pick up a gorgeous guy along the way. She doesn't believe in dating because that can only end with a broken heart, and she's only really in Chicago for the weekend, so how close can you get to someone in 3 days?
Indeed.
Meanwhile, TJ wants to study art in college, but his family's expectations cast a shadow over his dreams, and when he meets Mari, he suddenly feels alive for the first time. And so they go to the festival together, they share a moment, but then they get separated in the crowd because music festival, right? When fate reunites them, they'll have to decide, was it love at first sight or the start of nothing more than a weekend fling?
There we go.
Sounds
That's
like
what we're
fun.
talking about.
The next book is one that I've already read. I am going to talk about it in an upcoming What We Read. It is The Heart Principle by Helen Huang. That was thanks to Berkeley, and it says, a woman struggling with burnout learns to embrace the unexpected, and the man she enlists to help her in this heartfelt new romance by USA Today bestselling author Helen Huang, which is a pretty good summary of it.
Yeah,
I will warn right now that it is different from the previous two novels in the series. It's a little heavier and it has a bit more of an emotional punch than the other two in a very different way. So just note that. I have my Goodreads review down below if you want to see that. Battle Royal by Lucy Parker, which I'm very excited about. I got this one thanks to Avon. A romantic comedy that is a battle of whisks and wits. Sylvie Fairchild was a contestant on a baking show a couple of years ago, and her, she's kind of earned a reputation for creating like ingenious things with her baking. And she impressed everyone except one of the judges, who is named Dominique de Vere. He voted her off the show, but it doesn't stop her from opening a pretty famous bakery and capturing the attention of producers for a different thing and also royalty. So Dominic is the favorite baker of the king. And apparently she now has to work alongside him. And you know what they say about grumps and people who pretend they don't like other people. They almost inevitably fall in love, and that's entirely what I'm anticipating. Then we have The Ivory Key by Akshaya Roman, an epic fantasy YA debut where magic, a prized resource, is the only thing between peace and war. When magic runs out, 4 estranged royal siblings must find a new source before their country is swallowed by invading forces. I mean, I'm here for it because it's a sibling story, but also, I mean, the way that their journey sounds, it sounds very Indiana Jones-esque, which I'm also here for. That one is from HMH Books, and it comes out in 2022. Then we have Iron Widow by Shiran J. Zhao. This one I got thanks to Penguin Teen, and it is out in September 2021. Pacific Rim meets The Handmaid's Tale in this blend of Chinese history and mecha science fiction for YA readers. Males and females get to team up to to pilot chrysalises, which are robots that transform into battle mecha. Apparently, the girls often die of mental strain for their role in this, but that's not something they really talk about. And it says, when 18-year-old Zetian offers herself up as a concubine pilot, it's to assassinate the ace male pilot responsible for her sister's death. But she gets her vengeance in a way nobody expected. She kills him through the psychic link between pilots and emerges from the cockpit unscathed. She's labeled an Iron Widow, a much feared and much silenced kind of female pilot who can sacrifice boys to power up the chrysalises instead.
Ooh.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. The next book I'm going to talk about is The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axie O, which I got thanks to Macmillan. This is another 2022 release. This is an enthralling feminist retelling of the classic Korean folktale, The Tale of Shim Cheong, perfect for fans of Winter Song Uprooted and Miyazaki's Spirited Away. Listen, it was the Spirited Away thing that got me. I mean, I love Axie, and I generally want to read her book, but I also just like, the minute I hear Spirited Away, I'm just like, yes, you've got me, all right. So that's pretty much the reason why I ended up requesting this one. A Clash of Steel, a Treasure Island remix by C.B. Lee, also from Macmillan. This one comes out in September, and it says 2 intrepid girls hunt for a legendary treasure on the deadly high seas in this YA remix of the classic adventure novel Treasure Island. The last thing that I'm going to talk about is All of Us Villains, which is by Amanda Foody and Christine Lynn Herman. This is from Tortine, out in November. So it says, the blood moon rises, the blood veil falls, the tournament begins. Every generation, at the coming of the blood moon, 7 families in the remote city of Ilvernath each name a champion to compete in a tournament to the death. The prize? Exclusive control over a secret wellspring of high magic, the most powerful resource in the world. All right.
Okay.
Ready. I'm
Okay.
ready. I'm ready.
I like that.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good, so I'm looking forward to checking it out. We have finally come to the point where I have now reached the end of all the publisher books that I got, so thank you to everyone who so kindly approved me, sent the books. You guys are great. I'm happy to be receiving all of these things, and I promise to try and get to them in as timely a fashion as I possibly can.
Here we go.
But for now, we're gonna let Mackie talk for a bit so I can rest.
Small intermission
before I go back into
things. So I guess the only splurgy thing that I've done, which is technically for us, is because we got into an anime called Jujutsu Kaisen. And Jujutsu Kaisen is a story about just like a regular, quote-unquote, regular high school kid discovers they're not so regular after all. And it's set in a world where curses are a thing, and they attract bad juju, they hurt people.
Yep.
But in particular, this quote-unquote normal kid just gets mixed in with a bunch of normal kids too, who are trying to be part of an occult club. They stumble upon a terribly cursed artifact that apparently is the severed finger of some higher demon that attracts all of these other curses to show up. They're in mortal peril. This kid sort of tries to save them, and in an act of sheer bravery and possibly stupidity, decides to ingest the curse. Because apparently that's one way he just overhears from some other, from the mysterious student that shows up to save them in the nick of time, that says, you know, usually people eat curses and become curses themselves. It's terrible. And he's like, well, you know what? Let's give it a shot. So he swallows the finger. It's terrible. And he just sort of gains powers and unwittingly becomes accessible to the said higher demon who owned them fingers. And so goes the story. Now, this pales in comparison to the actual experience of it, right? Yeah. Because it's really, really good. I like it. I mean, it's a crazy concept. It's very sort of like paranormal. It's paranormal.
It's
paranormal urban fantasy. And so we just had to get the manga. It's pretty good. We finished the anime. I think the 2nd season is coming out this June, which is super cool. Should be out for that. That's fine. So there's that. So we bought all existing manga, and we'll continue doing so as they come out. Speaking of digital libraries, I bought for myself the Old Guard Tales for Time #2. This time it centers on sort of like one of the other of Andromache's crew.
Okay.
And how he's the Frenchman, right? So there's the Turkish dude, there's the Crusades dude, and then there's the French dude, and then there's Andromache. Like that's their whole crew. Sure. But this is about the Frenchman, and he's pretty cool. So there's that. Very, very nice. Very prequel-y, I want to say. City of the Plague God by Sarwa Chada, also known by us at first as Joshua Kahn. And Curse of the Plague God is Mesopotamian lore, I want to say.
It's Rick Riordan.
It's a Rick Riordan Presents book, and I just figured since we love Joshua Kahn so much, apparently Sarwa Chada, let's do it. You know, it's super cool. Lastly, but certainly not leastly, in a fit of fandom, I think it's a good way to
Fandom
fit a
fit.
fandom. A fandom fit. That sounds like a. That sounds like an impulse. That's not like a cute way to
It's
call
like
it
a
an impulse
nice
buy.
yeah, exactly. It's a nice way of saying impulse buy.
Thanks to a lovely bout of insomnia, I was watching Live Die Repeat on TV, which is the Emily Blunt, Tom Cruise Hollywood movie, where Tom Cruise just repeats the day that he gets murdered over and over again. Like every time he gets killed, he goes resets back the day, and in the series of those loops, becomes a better and better fighter as they discover why and how. Well, why aliens are not why, but discover how to defeat the aliens that are invading Earth in a timely fashion. Emily Blunt's character being the only one they knew to be capable of fighting these creatures. That movie was apparently based on a manga series, and in a fit of fandom, I thought here's a collected edition. It was apparently a novelization by Hiroshi Sakurazaka, which is cool. I plan to read that. However, when I realized that this is words, where's my pictures, I had to double back and go, okay, it's a 2-part manga. Fine. And the 2-part manga is by Ryosuke Takeuchi, and it's really great. Loved it. Reviewed it. You guys will see it. It's this lovely kind of like blue and red manga, 2-shot, and it's fun, and it's my new favorite thing. It almost makes me want to buy a physical copy, actually.
You can think about it.
What do we can think about it?
Alright, since Mackie talked about digital stuff, I will also continue talking about digital stuff. I got a few ebooks. So I actually got all 3 books in the Gamble Brothers series by Jay Lin, also known as Jennifer L. Armentrout. Each of these books follows a different couple, a different sibling, different kind of romance trope. So the first one is brother's best friend, and sort of second chance since they kind of had an encounter like a couple of years ago. The second one, on the other hand, is fake dating, which always a fun time. And the third one is a bodyguard romance. So, you know, I am just here for romantic stories, and I also really enjoy how Jennifer Armentrout writes, so that'll be fun. And then there's a Secret and Spies box set for 3 books by Casey Bateman. So it includes To Steal a Heart, A Raven's Heart, and A Counterfeit Heart. And I actually don't know about the other 2 books, but the first one is basically about a spy and a thief.
Sure.
And their romance. It's a historical romance series, so looking forward to that. Speaking of series, I also got the Bennett Brothers box set, a series by Stacey Hart. I've actually read the first book in this one, Coming Up Roses, which was delightful. The series centers around the Bennett brood. They're mostly brothers in this one, and they all come home in order to save their family's flower shop. And they have different romances, so
cool.
Excited. I also got a historical fiction novel called Dear Mrs. Bird. This is a debut novel that was set in London during World War II about a young woman who wants to be a war correspondent, and she inadvertently becomes a secret advice columnist instead. We also have The Art of Gathering, Why We Meet, and How We Meet, and Why It Matters. So this is basically just a nonfiction book about getting together and surrounding yourself with people and why that's an important thing. We also have The Undocumented Americans, which sounds like it's going to be a really hard read, but also one that I think we should read. It's basically this author's revelation of the hidden lives of her fellow undocumented Americans. So I feel like that's going to be super heartbreaking, but I've heard nothing but really good things about how she portrays everything. So the next thing is a book club book for the book club I do with my sisters and cousin. It is a book called The Kindness of Strangers, Travel Stories That Make Your Heart Grow. Cannot pronounce this name, I'm so sorry. It's basically travel stories from different people, very chicken soup for the soul, where it's like this is a random encounter I had with a stranger during one of my trips. That type of thing. Then we have Frangipani, which is by Celestine Veit, and says, in Tahiti, it's a well-known fact that women are wisest, mothers know best, and Matarina Mahi knows best of all. Or so everyone except for her own daughter thinks. Soon enough, mother and daughter are engaged in a tug-of-war that tests the bonds of their love. The Order of the Pure Moon Reflected in Water by Zen Cho. So this is a found family wuxia fantasy that combines the vibrancy of old-school martial arts movies with characters drawn from the margins of history. Sounds kind of magical. I really like the cover for this one as well, so looking forward to that. And we're going to round up the digital stuff with one more fantasy book, The Sword of Kaigen, which is by M.L. Wang. And this one says, the Puppy Wars darkness meets The Last Airbender's elemental magic. I honestly have just heard nothing but good things from a lot of people on YouTube for this story. It sounds right up my alley.
There it is.
Looking forward to reading that. And now we're going to move on to the rest of the books. Slightly shamed now, just seeing how many things are like awaiting my...
It's not that bad. Well,
says now. This first handful is already 6 books. So these are the children publishing editions of
I
all
can take responsibility
of Jane
for these.
Austen's novels, for these particular editions. So we have Sense and Sensibility, Pride and Prejudice, Northanger Abbey, Mansfield Park, Emma, and Persuasion. If you've seen our possibility pile, because I'm hoping to read all of Jane Austen's novels in June. Love the gold foiling, love the florals. Definitely a good choice. I like how we're going to demonstrate all of these covers. I like that
But
one.
they're pretty. Look, they're
They are.
iridescent.
They're so shiny.
This is Northanger Abbey.
I like the
Very
colors
purple.
of that one. Mansfield Park.
Right, it's got that nice
That looks
crimson
sort of Christmassy because it's kind of red.
And then of course these two, which is just,
Yeah, I like this one actually.
it's pretty.
I like the
Okay.
pattern. Alright, so we've got those. Speaking of series, first is volumes 1, 3, 4, and 5 of the Given manga. This manga is by Natsuki Kizo. I've actually watched the anime for this and I really enjoyed it. That was something I watched like very early on in the year. It's essentially about two high school teens. They end up bonding over music, but it turns out they're both dealing with some traumatic realizations. It's a great anime. I really enjoyed it and I really want to read the manga. I'm still missing volume 2 though, so that's gonna have to wait. But I do really like the covers because they have all of the characters on them. Speaking of series, I also ended up inadvertently picking up this entire series because I could.
Do
So
explain.
this series, I don't actually know the series name. I think it's Altered, but I could be wrong about that. So it's 3 books. We have Altered, which has this cover. We have Erased, which has this cover. And we have Reborn, which has this cover. And these 3 books, oh yeah, the Altered Saga. I was right about the series name. So these 3 books are by Jennifer Rush, and I actually read Altered by audiobook from the library because it was our paranormal book club pick for the second quarter of the year. And I was so surprised by how much I enjoyed it. So this is like a sci-fi series where the main character in the first book, she and her dad are sort of observing the government experiment where we have some enhanced humans. At the beginning of the book, the government wants to reclaim their property. Instead, the boys escape. The father lets them do it, but he has one condition. They have to take his daughter with them. And so they sort of are running to escape being confined again, being caught again. But along the way, they discover that not all is as it seems. And it was such an interesting book. I love the twists and the turns. I really enjoyed the characters. And so I was like, you know, I'm gonna have to read the rest of the series. So I ended up buying all 3 books. The thing about these next 3 books is I bought them, but I have read all of them. So not added to the TBR, but I did buy them. So that,
I mean, you know,
yeah.
means they'd have a place on the shelf.
Yeah, so first is the mass market paperback edition of The Kiss Quotient by
Favorite book.
Helen Huang, which I really love. This is my favorite book in that series. It's about Stella and Michael. Stella is on the spectrum and she decides to at least try to educate herself on like physical touch and, you know, sexual relations and that sort of thing, that she's going to hire a man named Michael Fan, who is an escort, and so he helps her sort of with that journey and they end up falling in love and it's great. Actually, I believe Stella has Asperger's specifically, if I remember correctly. But I really like this cover because it's like a movie poster. It's great. The next 2 books are nonfiction books. I've read both of these earlier this year and I just feel like they need a place on my shelves. So we have Stand from the Beginning, which is by Ibram X. Kendi. This is his portrayal of how racism and racist ideas formed along the course of American history. He does it by using 5 different individuals at different points in time. And it was a really powerful, really dense book, but also really very good. And the other book, nonfiction book, is Hood Feminism, Notes from the Women That a Movement Forgot by Mickey Kendall, which I listened to. I really like this because the feminist perspective in it is more than just what you would anticipate it being, and it feels more inclusive in a lot of ways. So I really appreciated how she portrayed it here.
Sweet.
On a random Barnes & Noble run, and I mean random, like I literally went to Barnes & Noble just because I felt like going, I picked up 2 books. So this book I've actually read, so again, not for the TBR, but I did buy it. The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart. I feel like you might remember me talking about this one last year, but it is a debut adult fantasy where the main character has lost all her memories, but she's trying to prove to her father, the Emperor, that she's worthy to be his heir and to also learn the all-important bone magic that he uses to keep their kingdom
yes,
running
the bone
successfully
magic.
together. She's not the only perspective in this book, however, because we have a guy who really just wants to be reunited with his wife that inadvertently keeps getting dragged into random political things because he always wants to do the right thing.
Fair.
And we also have a couple of other people involved in the story. And it's really this epic fantasy that's spread out across a chain of islands, and I found it fascinating when I read it last year. Very much looking forward to the sequel as well.
Cool.
Then we have a book called The Ghost Bride by Yang-Si Chu. This has been turned into a Netflix movie, I think. So it's basically about a young woman named Lee. She doesn't really have a lot of prospects, and she gets approached by this very rich family in order to be paid to be a ghost bride to the son who died under mysterious circumstances. So basically it would be a comfortable, good situation for her because, you know, she'd get paid, she'd live in comfort for the rest of the days. And while she's considering this offer, she actually gets drawn into sort of a shadow world, a parallel world of the Chinese afterlife with ghost cities and vengeful spirits. So she has to figure out what the family's secret is before, you know, she ends up trapped in that world forever. So I love that it's like, it starts off sounding like historical fiction, and then there's suddenly this random supernatural element to it, which here for. And then I went online and bought books because apparently I can't be tamed. So this is the third book in the Cassidy Blake series by Victoria Schwab. This is Bridge of Souls. This is the first book in that series that actually takes place in the United States. So the Cassidy Blake series follows Cassidy, and she can see ghosts. Her best friend is a ghost, and in the other two books, she was first in Edinburgh and then in Paris, and she had to deal with a different ghostly situation in each place. Same thing is going to happen in this book, except that she's going to New Orleans. And then I got these next three books all together just because they look so aesthetically pleasing together.
They are. Look at
They
that.
are. They all have the same design, actually. See? I know nothing about any of these books, to be honest with you. The one that I've heard of the most is Strange Weather in Tokyo, which has this cover. It's about a main character named Tsukiko, and then she ends up one night being at a bar and she's sitting, you know, alone by herself until she's joined by her former high school teacher, and so they start becoming friends and like developing this sort of intimate relationship because they interact so much. So that's the first one. That's by Hiromi Kawakami. Also by Hiromi Kawakami is The 10 Loves of Mr. Nishino. So this one says, over the course of his life, Mr. Nishino falls in love again and again and again. So he falls in love with all of these different women. And then it says, through their stories, we meet a curious and complicated man whose great capacity for love may well be the cause of his downfall. And then the last book by the same author is The Nakano Thrift Shop, and this one says, love is often found in unlikely places. Could there be anywhere less likely than the Nakano Thrift Shop? Inside is a jumble of bric-a-brac presided over by an enigmatic ladies' man, Mr. Nakano, and frequented by a host of curious customers. It is here that Hitomi, a restless young woman, meets Takeo, whose abrupt and taciturn manner she finds, to her consternation, increasingly disarming. Murakami got this edition of Norwegian Wood because I really like it. I honestly know nothing about the plot of Norwegian Wood. It is just the book that my friend Rachel has read from him and recommended that I start with. I feel like I might have read one of his other books before, but it probably went way over my head because I probably tried to read it very young. When he hears her favorite Beatles song, Toru Watanabe recalls his first love, Naoko, the girlfriend of his best friend Kizuki. Immediately, he's transported back almost 20 years to his student days in Tokyo, adrift in a world of uneasy friendships, casual sex, passion, loss, and desire, to a time when an impetuous young woman called Midori marched into his life and he had to choose between the future and the past. This is a book I pre-ordered, and I actually have a signed edition of it, as you can see right there. And this is Take Me Home Tonight by Morgan Matson. It's about two best friends who go to New York for a night out together, and then they end up separated and also somehow losing their phones, and it's shenanigans on shenanigans. I love Morgan Matson. I think she's great, and I have enjoyed all her books, so I'm looking forward to reading this one as well. I randomly went to an indie bookstore not so far from where we live called Book Culture. It's in Long Island City, and while I was there I was like, well, of course I have to pick up a book, right? Because like, why wouldn't I? And so I picked up a book that I had been looking at in a different bookstore before that. It's called There's No Such Thing as an Easy Job by Kikuko Tsumura. And it says, a young woman walks into an employment agency and requests a job that has the following traits. It is close to her home, requires very little thinking, and ideally it involves sitting in a chair. The recruiter has just the thing. And so this main character just tries one job after another, and it seems like she's in search of something very specific. It just sounds intriguing, so had to. Also, this cover has my favorite colors.
I mean, it's basically your aesthetic if you think about it.
And then, when I went to Kinokuniya with Rachel and Kristen, I got 3 books because, again, can't be tamed. So the first book I'm going to mention is Sweet Bean Paste, which is by Durian Sukegawa, which is, I think it's translated as well, so hold on. Translated by Alison Watts. A charming tale of friendship, love, and loneliness in contemporary Japan. Sentaro has failed. He has a criminal record, drinks too much, and his dream of becoming a writer is a distant memory. So he mostly spends his days in a tiny confectionery shop, selling dorayaki. But then everything is about to change because into his life comes Tokoe, an elderly woman with disfigured hands and a troubled past. And so she begins to like teach him her craft. She also begins to like be his friend, and then apparently she has a dark secret that is eventually revealed. This one I got because Rachel has read it and loved it. It's The Housekeeper and the Professor by Yoko Ogawa. He is a brilliant math professor with a peculiar problem. Ever since a traumatic head injury, he has lived with only 80 minutes of short-term memory. She is an astute young housekeeper with a 10-year-old son who is hired to care for him. And every morning, as the professor and the housekeeper are introduced to each other anew, a strange and beautiful relationship blossoms between them. That sounds so sad.
Yeah.
So it's a short one, so we're looking forward to reading this. And then the last book I got at Kinokuniya was A Tale for the Time Being by Ruth Ozeki, which has this fantastic cover. On a remote island in the Pacific Northwest, a Hello Kitty lunchbox washes up on the beach. Tucked inside is the diary of a 16-year-old Japanese girl named Nao Yasutani. Ruth, a writer who finds the lunchbox, suspects that it is debris from Japan's 2011 tsunami.
Oh.
Once she begins to read the diary, Ruth quickly finds herself drawn into the mystery of Nao's fate. Meanwhile, in Tokyo, Nao, uprooted from her home in the US, bullied at school, and watching her parents spiral deeper into disaster, has decided to end her life. But first, she wants to recount the story of her great-grandmother, a 104-year-old Zen Buddhist nun, in the pages of her secret diary.
Oh,
Dual
that's
timeline
kind of really cool.
sounds really interesting. Definitely looking forward to reading this.
Sounds kind of awesome.
I swear we're almost done. Two last things. Two boxes. We're gonna start with this
Starting with...
Ember of Night by Molly E. Lee, which was sent by the publisher so kindly to our house. It says, "Some days are hell. Some days hell finds you."
Sure, yeah.
Oh, it smells so nice. Smell that? Alright. Demon Smoke Bath Bomb. Okay,
That's probably what the smell is.
I think so. There's also a candle in here, so it could be that. So,
Ooh.
there's a bath bomb in here. There's a candle in here. Hold on, let me just tear the bubble wrap. Ooh, that sound. So
Bubble
amazing.
wrap popping.
Alright, what does it say?
It says Harley.
It smells good, though. I like the color.
It just says Harley. And it smells... Oh,
It smells nice,
quite
right?
nice. Piney fresh.
There is a bracelet.
It's like a bracelet type
It
chip.
says, "A wish only needs a spark to come alive."
Actually, that is kind of true.
Alright, so there's an author letter, there is a
Bookmark.
bookmark, which is right here, and there is a copy of Ember of Night, which has this cover.
Pulse
Pounding romance, epic world building, and plenty of twists and turns. Ember of Night will be your next fantasy obsession. Perfect for fans of Cassandra Clare, Michelle Hodkin, and Becca Fitzpatrick. The actual summary says, "I am a weed. Unloved by my abusive alcoholic dad, unwanted by my classmates, unnoticed by everyone else. But I'd suffer anything to give my kid sister a better life. The minute I turn 18, I'm getting us the hell out of here. And some hot stranger telling me that I am the key to stopping a war between heaven and hell isn't going to change that. Let the world crumble and burn for all I care." Draven is relentless, though, and very much a liar. Every time his sexy lips are moving, I can see it. In the dip of his head, the grit of his jaw, even if my heart begs me to ignore the signs. So what does he want? I need to figure it out fast, because now everyone is gunning for me. And damn if I don't want to show them what happens when you let weeds thrive in the cracks of the pavement. We can grow powerful enough to shatter the whole foundation. Well then.
Alright.
Well then.
There is promise here.
Yeah, I think it sounds interesting. So I assume she's gonna go to hell at some point, right?
Or hell finds you, as the box says.
True. Thank you so much to Entangled Teen for sending that along.
Lovely.
And now we have my Fairy Loot box, which is very exciting. I love Fairy Loot boxes. I quite enjoy getting them. Also,
Alright,
look at the
what do we
pretty
have?
art. Pretty art.
Pretty art.
On the
Hidden
front.
identities.
That's
okay.
the theme for this
so
one. So
that
let's
is the
start
theme.
with the tote bag.
So there's a tote.
It has a nice pattern on this side. Who's
it's
on
by
the
Blood and
tote?
Ash. It's
Oh,
from
it's
the
Blood
Blood
and
and Ash
Ash.
series by Jennifer Armentrout,
Nice.
right? With artwork by the one and only ARZ20.
I love
RS28.
the art on it, actually. What about bookends? Whoa!
Oh wow. Okay, so
These are cool.
So those metal bookends are inspired by the Lord of the Rings
Oh, I love it.
and are designed by the incredible Jezhawk.
I love that there are two of them, too.
Yeah, metal bookends.
That's awesome. Okay, I do not know what this is. It says
It's soap. By Little
Oh my
Hearts
gosh,
Gift.
it's cherry blossom soap.
By Little Hearts Gift, inspired by The Flame in the Mist by Renee Audier.
Yes.
The white and pink swirls are and scent are reminiscent of sakura
Oh my gosh,
flowers.
it smells so good.
That is pretty smelly in a wonderful way.
This is a pin,
That is, I believe
guess.
that's an enamel. These are enamel pins.
Well, it's only one.
Oh,
right
just
now.
the one for now.
That says Devabad.
Yeah. So
Oh, I like that.
From the
It
David
says
Much of it
greatness
as a
takes time.
checkerboardy
It says greatness takes time, which is cool.
by Icy Designs.
Love it. Should have known too, because it kind of does look like an Icy Designs. Before we get to the
There's a
book.
set of foiled bookmarks too.
Foiled book. Yes,
So
yes,
those are
yes. Who are the characters though?
Inspired by Poppy War by R.F.
This one is
Kuang.
Poppy War. This
So
has
Blood
to be
Air by Amelie.
Oh,
Wen
I like
Zhao.
the cover. I like the one for Blood
And
Air.
An Ember in the Ashes by Sabat Tahir.
There's 3 of them. Where's the other one? Oh, there it is.
There we are.
Oh, they're so shiny.
And there are the
I like how foily they are.
featuring artwork by Talia Noble.
I like the art too. But I like how shiny they are.
I know, it's lovely.
All right, tarot cards, I guess.
Yeah, so 7 of Wands and
8 of Wands. Who's on them though?
They are designed by the very talented Morgan Anagram and are inspired by Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin.
Yes. Yeah, now I know who they are.
Super cool.
I don't know because this is not
we're
on the
trying
card,
to like read.
but I'm pretty sure this is Spinning Silver just because this looks like Miriam and this looks like the dude, so just guessing.
Cool stuff.
But let's look at the book because it's an exclusive edition, which means it's probably got some sort of...
It's got cool stuff in there. Sprayed edges, that kind of deal.
There's so much paper in here. I felt that. Okay. Oh, pretty art. Who are they? Because that's the important question of my life right now. Who you? Oh, this is the author letter on the back, which is pretty cool. I like that they do that though. Like they put the author letter on the back. Kind of like
I would love
saves
that.
money and space. This is the fairy scoop, which comes with every box. Oh, okay. So I've seen the original cover for this. It has a blue cover. This one is purple,
But look at them sprayed
and it has
edges,
the sprayed
though.
edges. So
But
it's
not
solid
just
here.
But it's,
Oh,
it's
it's
like
a
a little
keyhole.
it's like a keyhole.
Yeah, I wonder if... Would not be surprised. Hold on. Okay, so it is signed. There you go. Signed right there. I'm pretty sure there has to be something on the back. What did I tell you? Oh, it's pink foil. Okay, so under the jacket, on the actual hardcover itself, you get the 2 characters again. It's done in this like really bright pink foil, which I love. Like, I love it.
It's gorgeous.
And then on the back of the dust jacket, oh no. Look at this art.
That is gorgeous.
That's ridiculously
That is
pretty. They're also in some
gorgeous.
sort of garden. Kind of looks like a garden, right?
Some forest
It's like some
type
secret
deal.
garden
I know, it's
meeting.
great. I love that.
I have feelings already. I haven't even read it. This is so beautiful though, honestly. Once again, Fairy Loot with this stunning box. Loved it. Enjoyed this Hidden Identities box. Can't wait to read that book because it sounds
Very nice. Very
fantastic. We finally made it to the end of it.
Yeah, and if you
That was
hung
a
around, that was pretty
Mildly
cool of
excessive
you.
book haul on my part. Here's to hoping I don't acquire as many in June.
I mean, I regret I didn't acquire as much.
Like, good for you. Anyway, not that I regret any of this, let's
Oh,
be
no, there
real.
are no
There's
regrets
so
here.
many exciting books in
You're
this
kidding.
haul. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this haul. If you made it to the end, thank you so much for sticking around for all of these shenanigans, for my haul of shame. You know, it's a thing. If you're excited about any of these books and you want to see us talk about any of them sooner rather than later, do let us know. Sometimes that influences my choices when it comes to reading. Otherwise, you'll probably just have to wait until I feel like I'm in the mood for them. Anyway, let us know what the most exciting book thing you got in the last month was, and we will see you guys for a new video soon. Don't forget to check out all our links down below. Bye!
Bye.